And that's one of the hardest things, I think, in this journey of having a podcast is to be able to consistently put out my words and thoughts and know that I'm not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to like me, and not everybody's going to agree with me. Are you overwhelmed by motherhood and barely keeping your head above water? Are you confused and frustrated by how all the other moms make it look so easy? You can't figure out how to manage the chaos in your mind, your home, or your family. I get you, mama. Parenting with ADHD is hard. Here is your permission slip to let go of the Pinterest-worthy visions of organization and structure fit for everyone else. Let's do life like our brains do life. Creatively, lovingly, and with all our might. When we embrace who we are and how our brains work, we can figure out how to live our lives successfully and, in turn, lead our families well. At the end of the day, we just want to be good moms. But, spoiler alert, you are already a great mom. ADHD does not mean you're doomed to be a hot mess, mama. You can rewrite your story from shame spiral to success story. And I'll be right here beside you to cheer you on. Welcome to Motherhood in ADHD. Hey there, Successful Mama. It's your friend Patricia Sung. Oh my goodness, it feels like I haven't talked to you in 100 years. On one hand, I'm glad that I'm doing less frequent podcasts as I try to get this book written, but also I miss sitting on the floor of my closet talking to you. It's weird. It's a weird transition. I'm trying to make it work, and I'm in the messy middle here, but I miss you. That's the main point. And I just want to keep you updated on what's going on and what I'm wrestling with and what I'm learning, and it's a thing. So where are we at? I think where I left off on was trying to make all these big decisions about the book and what to do and where to go and what am I doing in my life. And as I was wrestling through, I really thought I was going to end up self-publishing this book. And to me, like, one of the biggest factors is that traditional publishing takes so long. Like, here I am writing this book. I'm recording this in March of 2025, and it's not going to come out until probably either October 2026 or maybe February 2027. And I'm like, that's like forever from now. And I can't imagine doing something that takes that long. I'm just like, what? I'm impatient. And I thought I could do it faster if I'm self-publishing, which obviously, yes, you can go much faster when it's just one person, driving the car than a whole big company. But my neurotypical husband is always my voice of reason. He really has a good gift for discernment. And he says, okay, Patricia, how much faster can you do this book if you go with self-publishing? I was like, oh. Like, part of what I've been wrestling with is that being a mom and being the primary parent and running a business and keeping up with house stuff, like, those things are all important to me. And being with my kids after school is important to me. And there's only one of me. There's only so much I can do. And right now I have significantly less help, both at work and at home. And so, my husband's traveling a ton. I didn't really miss this part. I mean, my husband traveled a ton, from when we started dating till the pandemic, he traveled. So that's probably the first 10 years of our relationship. I'm like, hold on, let me do the math here. No, probably closer to 15, because we met in 2006, I think. No, it wasn't. It was earlier than that. 2004. Oh man, I feel really old. I'm like, what year? They all run together. 2005. We met in 2005, and he traveled for the first 15 years for his job until the pandemic in 2020. So for 15 years, he traveled all the time. And then since the pandemic, he stopped traveling and then switched jobs, and now he's in another job, and now he's starting to travel again. So I don't miss that 15 years of the traveling. I'm like, oh, if you have a partner who travels a lot, whether it's frequent short trips or long drawn out trips, it's hard. It is hard to do life in a long distance fashion. It is hard because it is a transition every time they are leaving and coming back, and the transitions are always longer when it's a longer season. But then if you have all these short trips, it's constant transitions and the short in and out. So it's both things hard in their own ways. And I think he's traveling I think he's 9 cities he's going to in the next month. It's not usually this bad, but how many things can one mom do when the other parent is not around? Not as many as I would like. I recognize my limitations. And this means that I have to shift the way that I do things. And I'm still shifting. They were like 3 months in and I'm still shifting. And just realizing like, ooh, like when we have ADHD, we forget. We don't have a concept of time, and therefore everything feels like we're in the now. And so it feels like things that are in the future don't really exist because we think about the now. That also means that like whatever thing is going on right now, whether it's good or bad, it kind of feels like it's going to be like this forever. And we don't notice, or we don't have the awareness, like our brain does not create the difference in time for us. And I'm not going to be real sciencey today because this is kind of I already have episodes on that. I'm gonna stay on track. Don't get on tangent, Patricia. I will hopefully remember to go back and reference that. Hold on. You know what? No, Patricia, you're not gonna remember. Just go write it down. Pause and go write it down. Okay, I wrote it down. That is something that I'm really working on, is that I'm not gonna say, oh, I'll remember to do that later. No, I won't. I'm not going to. So I'm usually pretty good about it. And then I realize I just did it out loud here. And no, Patricia, you will not remember. Go write it down. So I will link the episode about time blindness in the show notes. I'm not going to look it up right now because I'm trying to stay on track, because I'm trying to finish this recording before my kids get out of school. So let's roll. Going back from my tangent is that my husband asked me, like, how fast can you get this done if you were to do it yourself versus have a publisher? And when I started thinking about like, okay, we knew that like this travel season for him was going to be kicking off. There's a lot of conferences and like new customers, got to meet all these clients. And then we get into the summer, the kids are going to be here 24/7. So that's going to be another rhythm and another transition. When I look at the fall, I'm like, okay, well, after, they get back in school, okay, cool, I'll have more space on my plate. But, the retreat's in October. So that means September is my month of like making sure everything is prepped for that, which, by the way, you should come. Put yourself on the wait list. If you are not already on the wait list, it's patriciasung.com/retreat. And I think the wait list is patriciasung.com/retreat-waitlist. If you want to go directly there. But you go to the retreat page because you're going to see how cute it is. And you should come hang out with us in adorable tiny homes. And it's on a little goat farm. The goats are off to the side. If you want to hang out with the goats, you don't have to hang out with the goats. But they're so cute, you can go feed them. And it's like, there's a lake, and you have your own little tiny home, and it's peaceful, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to have a whole weekend full of relaxing, and I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to feed you, and you just get to show up and relax and enjoy. It's going to be amazing. And about half the spots are filled right now, so there is a space for you, ma'am. Go sign up. I think that I'll probably have the tickets on sale again in May. That's the plan right now. But anyways, retreats in October, and then all of a sudden, voila, we're in November, which then you get into Thanksgiving and the holidays and Christmas and New Year's and all that special stuff going on at that time of year. And then we're already in next year. And then we're right back to where we are because it's March. And I was just like, things are never going to be quiet as a parent until they move out one day. Like, I'm not going to have this like grand expanse of time where things are going to be calm in the foreseeable future. So when I think about like, yeah, sure, I can self-publish and I can figure out like how to make a cover and how to find an editor, and I can do all that. But like, what is my time worth? And do I have capacity for that? And I realized like, man, I think this is like a really big fallacy where we think like we can like save money by doing things ourselves. I'm like, yes, that's true. And instead of paying for something in money, you're then paying for it with your time or with your effort. And those things are also valuable. Your time is also valuable. Your effort is also valuable. And like, if you don't have the dollars, you don't have the dollars. But also, if you don't have the time, you don't have the time. So when I thought about like, okay, I don't have as much help, and like I probably will look at hiring someone in the next couple months, it's not going to be while I'm finishing the book, because otherwise I'm going to get distracted by, hiring them and training them and all that. And I'm already like had to train my current people to take over some of the stuff that my other assistant was not doing. It's like I already shifted things around, and it's like for me to then go and shift more things around, that again, it takes time and effort. And so right now, like, priority is try to write this book as fast as you can and get as much as possible done before the school year is over. But realistically, like, I don't have a bunch of capacity to add on figuring out how to be a publisher. I don't. My ADHD is like, oh my gosh, that sounds so fun. Let's go learn all the things. But again, there's only one of me. So I am currently talking to the publisher. Who knows? I haven't signed the contract yet. We're still, talking, getting answers on questions and talking to lawyers and all that stuff about the contract. But I think it'll come together. And I just realized like I can figure that out on my own. And then I'm paying with my time and my energy. Or I can go to this company that already knows what to do and how to do it and learn all I can. And then when I get done to the end of the process, to be like, okay, was that worth it? Do I want to do that again? I might be like, I'm never writing another book again, so it doesn't matter. Or I might be like, I learned all this cool stuff, now I can self-publish. Or I might be like, you know what? I would like to outsource this to somebody else who knows what they're doing and not take that on myself. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm valuing my time and my capacity. Like I think the more that I learn about my ADHD, I really value my capacity a lot more and my energy a lot more. And knowing that like there are so many things I can do myself, and I'm a very intelligent person who's a figure-outer and I'll figure it out. But at the same time, like it's not free, even though I'm not spending money on it. So I'm opting for going with the publisher because they know what they're doing. I don't have to learn all that stuff. And yes, there's a trade-off because I'm definitely not going to make as much money. But I've also learned in this process, like, unless you're Stephen King or something, like, you don't make that much money being an author, unless your book gets signed for a Netflix deal, like, and obviously, like, I'm writing a nonfiction book, so no, I don't think there's going to be any Netflix shows on it, but you never know. I'm like, don't speak that way. You never know. I would absolutely love to be on TV and talking to moms about ADHD. That sounds excellent. Now, do I expect my book to turn into a movie deal or a show deal? No. But I want to be able to teach as many women as possible all that I've learned so that you can then turn around and teach your kids that so that, you know, like the ripple effect continues and we're changing the paradigm of ADHD, just like I say in the song at the beginning. That's the goal here. So I recognize I'm not going to make as much money on the book because the publisher takes the most risk and they take the most money. But I'm allowed to do the thing that I'm good at, which is teaching people. And I'm not using my energy on the things that I don't know how to do. And like, I might be good at them, I might not, but that's not my specialty. And if I'm over here trying to figure out the cover design for my book, I'm not teaching women. And that's where my zone of genius is. And that's where I need to stay. So I am learning to value my time and value my effort more and my capacity. And that the way that I look at things now, like if you had asked me 5 years ago, well, first of all, I wouldn't have told you I wanted to write a book, but I would have gone with self-publishing route because I'm like, I can do it myself. I can figure it out. And all this to say that as you are learning about who you are and what you're good at and what makes sense for you, know that like your answer doesn't have to be the same every time. You don't have to pick the same answer now that you would have picked 5 years ago that you'll pick in 2 years. Given the information that you have right now, you make the best decision with what you know. And this is something that I talk about with my clients all the time of like, a lot of times women with ADHD will get stuck in this analysis paralysis of like, I don't know what to do and I need to do some more research and I don't know what the right answer is. And I mean, it's complex. Oh my God, I didn't write this chapter in the book yet. I'm going to probably take some of the notes here that I'm saying right now. But there's the combination of you get into the overwhelm. And when you're overwhelmed and you're stressed, you can't access the logic parts of your brain. So you're not able to think about things as clearly because you're in a stress response, which means your brain is functioning in a survival mode instead of like, you know, homeostasis, everything is okay mode. So when you're in this analysis paralysis, a lot of times it's because your stress is too high and you don't have access to that part of your brain that can help you make logical decisions. The other part of it is that we don't trust that we're making the right decision. And a lot of times it's because we don't feel like we know enough information. And we are never going to get to the point where we know exactly what the right answer is. Hindsight's always 20/20. You're not going to know ahead of time what the right answer is because you don't have all the information that future you will have. So you know, like a year from now, what would have been the best decision, but future you has information that now you doesn't have. So you can't make a decision based on information you don't have yet. And that's become like a recognition for me in knowing that like future me will be able to decipher what was the best idea, but future me has more experience. Future me has more information. Future me has the benefit of having gone through the thing and like knowing that's what the right answer is because I already did it. But the underlying piece there is it's because we don't trust ourselves. It's because you don't trust that little voice that's telling you what to do. It's because either you've trained yourself to ignore it, you've trained yourself to think other people's opinions are more important because they were louder and maybe more powerful. And we lose sight when we hear over and over again that like, you're being too dramatic, you're being too sensitive. Why are you worried about that? We begin to think that our voice is incorrect. so we start to ignore it because we think, well, I can't listen to that voice because that voice is too sensitive. That voice is too loud. That voice is too whatever thing that you were told as you were growing up. And we discredit our inner knowing and what we know to be true because we don't think that it's the right thing because we keep getting these messages. And I have spent so much time over the last couple of years, and even more so just in the last month, of like listening to myself and listening to my voice and trusting it, because I know the answer and you know the answer. You know inside what's the right answer for you given the information that you have currently, but you may not be able to hear that voice right now. I also think I have an episode on this. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to write down, Patricia, find the episode with this and put it in the show notes. I'm like, I know that I've talked about this a ton in my group coaching and with one-on-one clients, but I'm pretty sure I have a podcast episode on. Okay, so if I find it, if that truly exists, I will put it in here in the show notes. But going back, where was I? On track now, Patricia. You were saying, is that like we feel like we don't know what the answer is because we can't hear that voice inside, or you can't feel the gut feeling. Like not everybody's voice is an actual voice. Some people's is like an auditory like sound, or they like hear their thoughts being thunk. When I hear your thoughts being thunk, I don't think that's right. You can hear your thoughts, and other people know based on like a gut feeling. Some people feel it in their body. Like they're like, I know that this is not a good idea as soon as my stomach does this. And everybody knows in a different way. Some people literally just know. They're like, I just know, I know it. And when you can tune into what those signals are, which hopefully is in this episode that I'm thinking about in my head and not in my group coaching, like my brain is like, that information exists. Where is it? Hopefully I'll find it. When you're able to tune into that inner knowing, then it's so much easier to make decisions and to know what the right answers are because you're listening to yourself. Well, this whole past month, I feel like I was like hemming and hawing about different things of self-publishing versus the publisher versus should I interview some other publishers, and trying to gather all the right information to know in order to make this decision. And I realized that was actually like the surface level problem. Like all that logistical stuff is more like, it's not deep. It's like basic things that I can investigate, I can do some research, and I can generally know more or less what the answer is. But underneath all of that, the reason I was struggling to finish my proposal and put together my outline, because I need that whether or not I'm going with a publisher or I'm doing it myself. Like I still have to have a plan and I still have to know what I'm talking about. And putting together that plan, I realized where I was actually struggling for real underneath all of that was the fact that I am putting on paper how I feel about things. And I want to be able to stand by that, which I write 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And I was worried and anxiety was jumping in about like, well, what if I write the wrong thing? What if I say something and then realize 3 years from now, like that's totally wrong and science has proven it otherwise. And maybe or even somebody already proved it I was wrong and I didn't know. And there was like this wrestling with like, well, but what if I don't do a good job? And then I have garbage. I have a garbage book, which like saying it out loud is like, oh my gosh, Patricia, what? But these things that we think in our head and that can like become runaway thought trains, when they stay in our head, they can really take up a lot of our capacity. And when we say them out loud, or if we talk with it, with a friend or a partner or your therapist, like, or your coach, like those things, when we can say them out loud and we shed light on it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can realize either this really is a valid point that I need to deal with, or okay, that's not really realistic. Or you're worrying about the what if of the what if of the what if, which hand raise, that's me a lot. And that's something that, again, I'm working on. Like I'm thinking 7 steps ahead and I need to worry about the present moment. Like, yes, we do want to have forethought and we do want to think, long term and, don't be short-sighted. But because we have brains that are moving so fast and can see so many angles, and not everybody, but a lot of people with ADHD can be like this, we can get bogged down in all of the different scenarios and the what ifs and there's like so many options. Like kind of like I don't know if you were, when you were a kid, if you ever read those choose your own adventure books, it's like if you start thinking about all the different places that this book ends and all 14 endings or 30 endings, I don't know how many were in there, that is really like information overload and your brain's like, this is too much, because it is. And we really only need to think about what the choice is on this page, because thinking 4 steps from now, it doesn't matter if we haven't made the choice now. And this is where I was getting wrapped up in like, how do I know this is the right answer? How do I know that I'm writing quality stuff? And how do I know that I'm aligned with what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm pulling up an email that I wrote to one of my mentors last month who had written an email, and I responded back and I started writing. And then I, of course, like wrote like a full novel of what I was struggling with. And she was talking about like how something that can be really wonderful, like in her case, she's saying like her best friends were also her biggest roadblock. She was worried about how they would think about her, how they would judge her, changing her career. And I started like processing through, like this is probably right after I recorded the last book update for last month, and realizing like I was dealing with all these surface issues, to self-publish, to traditional publish, to, what's the title going to be and all this. And like really what I was wrestling with and what was holding me back was all the struggle in my mind. How do I make sure that this book actually represents me correctly? And how do I make sure that I'm being aligned? And one of the things I was wrestling with was like my faith. I am a Christian. And I started thinking, like, as I'm putting together this outline, like, how do I talk about how I deal with my ADHD without mentioning my faith? Can I write a book that does not include my faith? Because when I am helping moms, I don't want my faith to be a barrier for people for like hearing the help that they need. And I know that there's so many people within the ADHD community, they're like so hurt from organized religion and, relatives, and like there's just so much pain and hurt and confusion. And you look around right now at just like the fabric of America here, and there's so many Christians who are saying hateful things, and I feel like they're giving us a bad name, man. Like, I don't want all of that baggage to prevent people from coming to listen to the podcast or to read the book, because I want so many people to be helped. And I don't want to help only the people who look like me and sound like me and believe the same things that I do and have the same amount of money that I do and live in the same country that I do, or even the same state. Like, I don't want to help a small group of people that look just like Patricia. I want to help all of the moms who have ADHD. And I recognize that that's probably not possible because not everybody's going to resonate with me, but I don't want my faith to be a blockade from people getting the help they need. And one of the things I worried about working with a traditional publisher was like, are they going to be like, no, you can't talk about your religion? I was even saying to a friend, like, well, I wonder if I could like write like the regular version and then write like the Christian version of the book. And thank goodness she called me out hard. And she was like, Patricia, you cannot do that. She said it much nicer than that. But she was like, you can't take who you are out of this book and think that it will be an aligned product, like an end result, if you're taking out part of who you are. And I was like, yeah. And like fundamentally, like I know that. But my brain was just like, how do I reconcile this? How do I help people without scaring them away? Because there's so much hurt and baggage that comes from organized religion. And I know that that's not something that prevents me from helping people, because my clients come from all kinds of religions and backgrounds and countries, and I'm able to help lots of people. And I'm not over here being like, the wrath of the Lord. Like, no, like that's not what I'm here to do in my job, is to scare people away. And by the same like token, my faith is such a huge part of me. How on earth do I write a book that doesn't include a big part of me? And I felt like I was writing down the recipe of how to make cookies and then like not forgetting, but like actively avoiding sharing that like you need an oven. If you're going to do it like me, like I used an oven. Like a lot of what I do and like how I stay sane is related to my faith. So I felt like I was then lying by saying like, you can do all this stuff, but like I do all that stuff, but I also have Jesus anchoring the way that I do stuff. And he's like my fundamental like point of strength. So then I was like, well, am I now lying by not mentioning my faith at all? And like, I know that there are plenty of people out there who manage their ADHD well without their religion. So like my way is not the only way to do it, but how do I teach you how I do it without mentioning that that's important to how I function on a daily basis? And then on the flip side, like if I think about all the like bad reviews I've had on the podcast, most of them go back to the fact that I mentioned something about my faith, or I think maybe it's just, here's the thing, like I would hope that by the way I speak, you would recognize that I am someone who follows Jesus, and maybe not like explicitly. Like I would hope that you notice that I'm not over here talking crap about people, or that I'm not swearing up a storm. Like, sometimes words come out, but like generally speaking, I would hope that the way that I treat people is a reflection of that I hold myself to a different standard than what common culture may or may not approve of. And I would hope that you would notice that it's different. And I think that's why people then will write these reviews saying like, it's a Christian podcast. And I'm like, I am a Christian. So like, I wouldn't want you to listen to this and be like, wow, I had no idea Patricia was a Christian because she's such a horrible person. Like, I don't want that either. And here I am like wrestling with all this of like, how do I show up and authentically tell you how I deal with my ADHD and not like mention my faith at all, but like I also don't want to have a Christian podcast. I don't want to write a Christian book because that's not the angle that I believe, first of all, that God is asking me to do that. But there is such a stigma around Christianity that I also don't want to be lumped into this like I don't want to put in the box. Don't put me in the box. Don't put me in a box and say that I can only talk about this from the point of Christianity. Because I feel it's like, don't put baby in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Like, don't put me in the box, because when you then lump me in this category of like, well, now you're a Christian author with a Christian podcast, like, but now I'm not talking to most of the people that I want to talk to, the people that I'm trying to help. Like, as soon as you put me in that box, so many people are not going to read my book. They are not going to listen to my podcast because they're like, well, that's not for me. So here I am wrestling with, I don't want to write a Christian book. I don't want this to be all about my faith, because while my faith is very important to me, I don't think you have to be a Christian to be able to manage your ADHD well, and I want to help everybody. So how do I put all these pieces together when I feel like half of me is fighting about like, well, can I just like make the book with no religion at all? But also like, will my publisher even let me mention my religion? Also, like, I don't want to lie and not put in anything about my faith at all. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm like having like an existential crisis here of how do I create this book that accurately explains what I do and also mentions, by the way, this is a component of how I deal with it is my Christianity. But at the same time, like, I'm going to give you so many tools in this book, and I don't expect you to do all of them. Like, this isn't like, there's not like 100% requirement to have success. If I put in chapter, 20 ideas, you only need one. I don't expect you to do 20 for 20. So you don't have to be a Christian to learn a lot from my book. And I don't want to scare away the people who are like, organized religion scares me, which I'm like, I get it. There's some people out here who are crazy and I don't want to be associated with them. So how am I going to put in one book like my information and my recommendations and not scare away all the people, but also like not leave out important information of like who I am and how I approach things? And like, that was what I was wrestling with in the month of February. I didn't know how to take all facets of me and be able to put this book out and be like, I'm aligned with this. I agree with this. This makes sense. I feel good about this. I feel aligned with how I've explained things. I feel like I'm helping so many people and it's still me. How do I make the thing that helps the most amount of people possible and also stays true to me? That was really what I was wrestling with, because I also am pretty liberal on my views compared to most Christians. And then I was like, oh, great. Well, now if I start talking about capitalism and the patriarchy and all this stuff, then I'm going to have all the Christians who are like, I don't read your book either because now you're a crazy liberal. And I'm like, I don't think I am, but I know I'm on the edge of the Christianity where I do think there's a lot of issues going on in our country right now, and they make me really sad, and I want to talk about them. And I have issues with the way that people are spewing hateful words, and we're not loving our neighbor. We're trying to send them to another country. We're not loving our neighbor. We're over here telling this person they're terrible and that person they're terrible. And I got, trolls sending me mean messages on Instagram because I say something about like my political views. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make everybody mad. Nobody's going to read the book because everyone's going to be mad at me. And then I'm like, oh, here we are again. Everybody's mad at me. No, everybody's not mad at me. And I am not for everybody. And that's one of the hardest things I think in this journey of having a podcast is to be able to consistently put out my words and thoughts and know that I'm not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to like me and not everybody's going to agree with me, and that I'm going to get negative criticism. And how do I stay strong in who I am so that I can handle that? Because their judgments are a reflection of them and not on me. And what matters is that I stay true to who I am along each step of the way. And that's a lot easier said than done. It's almost time, Mama. We are in the final stages of planning our fall ADHD Moms Retreat and Getaway weekend. You deserve a weekend to step away, slow down, take care of yourself, and also meet a bunch of other ADHD moms who get how you think. If you want to be the first to know what's going on for next year's retreat, sign up for the waitlist now at patriciasong.com/retreat-waitlist. Put your name on the list and we'll let you know as soon as the early bird tickets are ready. Now, you know it's going to be a great time, especially since half the moms who came last year have already signed up for this year. So come join us, spend the weekend building up your toolbox to take care of you and taking a deep breath to relax and enjoy the calm of a weekend away. patriciasong.com/retreat-waitlist. I consistently am doing the hard work of staying aligned and true to who I am and regulating my nervous system so that I can handle that stress and I can handle those harsh words and still be able to hold that baseline while also knowing that it's going to keep coming. Like, the more I speak out, the more somebody has something to say. And I have to be in a place where I am sturdy enough to handle that before I step out and make those statements. So here I am writing this book, realizing like, oh my gosh, like the more that I am boldly claiming what I believe to be true, like I'm just opening the floodgates for people to have things to say. And am I going to still be able to stand by what I'm writing on this page 10 years from now? Like, I want to be the person whose book is still being recommended 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I think that pressure was getting to me of like, oh my gosh, like this isn't just a blog post that like if I don't like it, I can go delete it. I could change it. Like once it's in print, it's in print. I can't change it. Like, how do I know that I'm happy with those words that are going to be there forever that I can't change? Like, I don't know. For some reason, like it being in black and white feels different than the podcast, even though like you can go back and listen to the episodes I recorded 6 years ago. And sometimes I listen to them and I'm like, oh geez, what? I did not know what I was doing. I mean, I knew a lot of stuff, but it's like I have 6 more years of experience. And the other part of me is like, you know what? Good job, old me. You stepped out. You did hard things. You tried stuff you didn't know what you were doing. And that's how you learn. Good job, old you. And it's this constant reminder to myself of all the things that I hold true. Man, I didn't even bring up the fact that like the way that I coach and the way that I teach is not traditional. It's not what everybody else does. And that makes it hard. One, to be like, I feel like sometimes like I'm the outlier of all the outliers. Like I am on the outskirts of how most people, quote unquote, like do ADHD coaching. Like I'm already not doing what everybody else is doing. I'm doing it in a different way. So I'm the outlier of the outliers, but I know it's because it works. But like here I am sitting on the outlier and being like, now I have to be able to explain how I coach in words. It's like, oh man, like when I coach, it's so client driven. It is you and me in a dance and I am leading you where you need to go. It's not Patricia driven, because there's a lot of times I sit down with a client and they start talking and it's like, well, if you have this problem, like 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that you need A, B, or C. And like sometimes I'm like, oh, whoa, we are over here at F. I know how to do F, but like that's not where I thought we were going, because most people it's A, B, or C. So like I'm not going to show up and be like, oh, you have this problem, here's A, B, and C. You show up with your problem and I'm like listening and guiding. And like if I end up at Z, cool, okay, like we'll get there. But it's not on my agenda. Like I don't show up with a framework and like here's the 10-step process and I'm just going to shuffle you through. Like I'm listening to what you say. And I am guiding you where you need to go based on what you need in your situation. And I'm like, how do I put that in a book? How do I write that down? It's different for every person. And I am now having to like get meta about how I do what I do to be able to put those instructions on a page. And that also feels like a lot of pressure to explain what I do that is sometimes kind of inexplicable. Yeah, I got strategies. I got all the strategies for the strategies, and I got tools for the strategies, and the toolkits got more tools, and I got all that. I have that from my years of teaching. I got those. That's easy to write down in the book. But the reason for my clients that those things stick is because we work on the neuroplasticity, and I coach the unconscious mind. And that kind of like, it's a little out there for some people. And they're like, what do you mean you're coaching the unconscious mind? Listen, if I could just coach your conscious mind, do you know how easy my job would be? Do you know how easy do you know how easy it would be for you if all you had to do was decide in your conscious mind that you were going to do something different and then you just did it? Cool, I don't want to be late again. Look, I'm not late again. I decide I want to go to the gym 3 times a week. Oh, look, I went because I decided. I'm not going to eat sweets after 10 p.m. Cool, I just didn't eat them anymore because I decided. Like, that's not how our brains work. When I coach, I'm coaching your unconscious mind. I am going in to help you find the unconscious patterns and habits and thought loops that are running around in there, wreaking havoc, and that you're like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want the pattern that I yell at my kids every time my toddler loses their ever-loving mind over dumb stuff. Because they're toddlers, they don't got a fully formed brain yet. And it is the end of the world for them when they got a blue cup instead of the orange one because the orange one was in the dishwasher. But you're like, but I don't want to lose my mind on my toddler who doesn't have a fully formed brain just because they're upset about their cup. So I help you figure out what's the pattern going on in your unconscious mind. But like, I'm not telling you that because that sounds weird. I am using my spidey senses to figure out where the pattern is, and I light up the pattern. And then I tell you, okay, what do you want? And I help you figure out the new pattern. And then I essentially copy and paste this new pattern that you want, and I paste it on the old pattern that you don't want anymore. And it is in your unconscious, because if I told you, hey, you know what? If your toddler wants the blue cup or the orange cup, and you only have a blue cup, you could just take 3 deep breaths and smile and tell them, I will wash the orange cup for you, or I love you, but all we have are blue cups, and then move on with your day. That's not how it works. Your conscious mind is overwhelmed. Your conscious mind is stressed. Your conscious mind is out of capacity. So I'm reaching into your unconscious mind with you and finding the place that needs to get rewritten in order for you to get to the different outcome, and helping you rewire that in your mind. And a lot of times I get to the end of a session and clients look at me like, Patricia, what is this magic? I cannot believe that I am now kind of excited to meal plan. And I'm like, dude, I've never been excited about meal planning. It's not my favorite thing. I also have never done neuroplasticity on that for myself. And maybe I should. I'm like, the cobbler's shoes, man. You don't ever have what you need, right? It's like, I know. Like, clients get in, they'll be like, what is this witchcraft, Patricia? And I'm like, but I don't do witchcraft. I'm a Christian girl. But like, it is when you get in and modify your unconscious mind to get out of the habit that has been sitting there, that has been run over and over again for decades due to whatever has been going on in your life, and then you can rewrite it with a new thing. It sounds bonkers. So I'm like, how am I going to write a book telling people what I do when sometimes I don't even believe myself that I pulled this off? How did I pull off helping a newly divorced single mom all of a sudden feel really good about meal planning for her family? I know what I did, but it sounds like magic. And now I got to explain the magic on a page. And that feels like a lot of pressure. And like, speaking this out loud is what helps me work through it and be like, it is hard. And I don't know how I'm going to explain this. And so what I'm currently working on in the book is not that. I am writing the parts that I feel really clear about. And I'm going to let future Patricia handle that. I'm really hoping that Patricia in May knows what she's doing, because I'm trying to get this book done by the end of school year, if at all possible. So I'm really hoping that future Patricia next month knows how to put that into words. Maybe I just need to go pull the transcript from this episode and drop it in there. I don't know. But it has been a whole probably 2 months of sitting with all of this discomfort in how do I put something that feels really easy to me on the page and explain it to somebody else, because it comes easy to me. Actually, I was working on this chapter earlier about like unmet potential and like understanding your gifts. And a lot of the time when we have a gift, we don't think it's special because it's always been there. So it doesn't feel like a gift because you've always had it and you're used to it. And it's hard to explain it because you just do it. Like, I still remember I was watching this, like, oh man, this was like probably in like the 90s. I was watching some like Good Morning America, whatever, type show with my mom. And they had this guy on who was a sculptor, and he was like literally like carving marble statues like you see in a museum. And they asked him, like, how do you know what to do? Like, how do you turn it into something? He's like, well, you just remove all the parts that shouldn't be there. And I was like, what? Those of us who are not artists are like, I don't know what should be there, let alone what shouldn't be there. Like, that was such a fascinating idea. Like, to him, he was just like, that's just what I do, because he knows it's his gift and it's just easy for him. Whereas those of us who are standing there looking at it are like, wow, I have no idea how you turn that rock into the bust of David, but wow. Now this is my challenge, to take this gift that is so easy for me and now be able to explain it in a way that makes sense to other people, and hopefully that they can actually get something out of it. Can I explain it in a way that people can do it for themselves? I don't know. I'm like, is that a whole nother book? Again, I don't know. But this 2 months has been a full existential crisis of, what am I doing? Who am I? How am I going to put everything in my brain into real words so that other people can get what they need out of it, so that they can read this book, you mama, that you can read this book and be like, I feel like I understand myself better. I feel like I can use these tools that Patricia is sharing with me. And while I know I can speak a lot of them, which is actually how I've written a big chunk of the book so far, and like by big chunk, I mean like I have brainstormed out probably half the book this way by just talking all my thoughts out and then going back and I'm editing them, which is obviously way harder to like take the spoken word and turn it into something written, because you read differently than you talk. But yet I still want it to be in my voice, so I don't want it to be weird. I still want it to sound like me, but yet flow like a written piece as opposed to a spoken piece. And how do I do all of that while staying true to myself? And what I've realized is like, I just gotta be me. I can't be anything else but me. And like, if it turns out that of all of you and the other moms that are listening to this are like, wow, I don't resonate with Patricia anymore because I don't want to hear about her faith, or I don't want to hear about her coaching unconscious minds, or I don't want to hear about the patriarchy. I probably won't talk about the patriarchy that much, but it is going to be mentioned because like the way that our social system is set up is part of why women struggle to get diagnosed. But I can't try to fold myself, origami myself into something different. In writing this book, I'm just going to be me. And I gotta hope that if there's one of me out here who resonates with this, then there's hopefully also other moms who will resonate with this. And I also have to trust that you as the reader can come in and be like, I don't need this book to be written exactly by like a me lookalike. I can take what I need from it. I can leave the rest. And I have to have trust that you as my reader are able to do that. And if you're not, then don't read the book. I guess is the solution. But coming to a place where I'm okay being like, look, here's me on a page. And either you like me or you don't. Either you can take what you need and leave the rest, or you don't. But I can only write this book from being wholly me, and hope that there's someone else out there who's in a similar position to me. Like, that was kind of like a facepalm moment, I guess, of like, Patricia, you started this podcast so that other moms with ADHD would feel at home and like feel like they weren't alone. And now here you are feeling like you can't put everything on the page, because what if you're alone and nobody else feels like this? And when I'm like, man, come on, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't think that you're the only person dealing with this. You know that there are other people out here that feel similarly enough that it matters. There are not over 1 million downloads of this podcast because it's just me and you listening and talking here. There are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of moms who are listening too, and we aren't alone. So I am writing this book for you, and I hope that it will be what you need. And I also have to hope that, you know what, maybe chapter 14 really resonates now, and in 6 months, you're really going to need chapter 26. Because also, I'm writing these like really short chapters. So there's a lot of chapters, but they're real short. I have to tell myself that like the book's not going to be everything for everyone at this very moment, but the people who need it are going to get it. And that when you're reading it now, it has what you need now. And I hope that when you read it in 5 years, it also has what you need when you're going through that season of life. And that when you hand it to a friend because they just got diagnosed, that it has what they need too. And above all else, that this book is true to who I am and that I am fulfilling the mission that I was given, which was to write this book, even though I was not planning on it. I was like, God, maybe I write a book in like 2030. That sounds good. When my kids are like in high school and busy all the time. That is when I will write the book. But no, he's like, you know what? I need you to write this book now. Clear the deck. Don't do all those other projects you had on the docket. This is what I'm asking you to do right now. So I am going to align with like, okay, all right, that was not my plan. And I'm sure that my plan was not as good as his plan. So I'm going to follow it. I'm going to do what he asked me to do, and I'm going to be true to me. He created me to be this ADHD coach who has known about my ADHD diagnosis for over 25 years at this point, which is crazy, to have this teaching experience of working with hundreds and thousands of middle schoolers and high schoolers. I'd be like, listen, if I can get a 12-year-old to be organized, I for sure can teach you how to write some stuff in a schedule. Okay, ma'am? I can do this with children whose brains have not fully formed because they're in middle school. I can help you. He's given me all that experience to be able to do that. He's also given me the curiosity to say, what's going on here with this unconscious mind stuff? Like, what is this? How do brains work? I want to understand. I am so thankful that I have the knowledge that like my brain is not stuck this way forever. I can modify and mold and choose and create in my mind, with my mind, different ways of doing things. Like I am not stuck in the patterns of trauma or the patterns of unhealthy, crappy people. That I get to do things differently and that I have the option to do things differently. Like 50 years ago, we thought brains didn't even change. We thought brains just, that's the brain you got. Too bad, so sad. No, your brain can change all the time. And to have the skill to help women do things differently and break out of the unhealthy patterns and the generational trauma that you've been dealt, like what? I get to do that every day? That's crazy. So I get to take all these pieces of me, the conservative parts and the liberal parts, the fired up parts and the soft and the gentle parts, like all the pieces of me come together into this one place and be like, I am meant to be here and now. So what am I going to do with it? Now that I feel like I am centered in of like, this is my mission. This is my job right now. Write as many chapters of this book as I possibly can before the school year is over. I'm like, let's roll. The only thing I'm going to get distracted by is get the retreat rolling in May. But other than that, we're on book mode. Blinders on, write the book. And hopefully by the time I'm sharing the next episode, I've got a signed contract in hand. Because if not, I'm going to self-publish this thing. I'm already going to have the half written by the time I get all this paperwork done. And know really clearly that I'm on the way to fulfilling that because I feel really centered in who I am and what I'm here to do in this season. All that to say, I want you to have this same level of clarity that I have in who I am and what's important to me. And what I hope is that this book is also going to be helping you on that journey to do the same. I want you to know so clearly who you are so that your truth is so obvious to you that you don't ever second guess yourself. You don't ever waffle around on decisions because you know what is true for you. You are so clear on who you are and your values and your priorities that it's really easy to make decisions. It's easy to know when it's time to speak up and when it's time to let go. When it is time to get fired up and hop in the chariots and roll, versus this is not my battle to fight and I'm just going to walk away. That clarity is what I hope that my book will begin to bring to you. Like, this has been a lifelong pursuit for me. I've been working really hard on this for the last who knows how many years, but I want this book to be a catalyst to get you there too. So I have wrestled with all of this in the past 6 weeks of how do I take all of that and have it align so that I can sit here and put words on a page and stand by them today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, so that I can be really proud of this and that you have an amazing resource to hold in your hands and know I am not alone in this. That you can hear my voice today and be like, wow, Patricia's wrestling with the same kind of things that I'm dealing with. I'm not alone, because we're not. So you have ideas for the book, send them to me over at patriciasung.com/book. If you want to be on one of the beta reading teams, tell me there. And other than the retreat tickets that are going to be on sale in May, I got blinders on. I am writing a book. And I think that 3rd grade Patricia would have been really proud of me. And I hope that this book empowers you to do something that 3rd grade you would be really proud of too. Have an amazing day, Successful Mama. We can do hard things together. I'll talk to you soon, Successful Mama. For more resources, classes, and community, head over to my website, motherhoodinadhd.com.